This is the great problem of humanity, that we want peace. But are we peaceful ourselves? If most people are not peaceful inside.
Today we have a special video lined up. This is something that I haven't done before on this channel, so it's a little different style. I'm going to be bringing in a special guest. He's one of my mentors, and we're just going to go back and forth a little bit about his views and his experiences in martial arts, talking about traditional martial arts versus modern martial arts and what he's seen happen over the years. So I'm really excited to hear his insight, and I'm looking forward to fruitful conversation. So I have the pleasure and the privilege to introduce Master Maurice Correa, who's here to talk a little bit about martial arts with us. Welcome, Master. How are you doing?
Thank you, Master Matt. I'm doing well. Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Great. I've learned a lot from you, and I'm really excited to have some back and forth that we can talk about, your experiences and your viewpoints and things that you have come across in your time in martial arts. So with that said, I haven't told anybody really anything about you, so I figured it would be better for you to do that. If you could tell us, your background in martial arts and kind of give us your story of where you've been and how you've arrived to where you are today.
Yes, I practice both Taekwondo and Hapkido for 35 or so years, but I've been involved in martial arts for almost 50 years. I had to stop practicing physically because of some health issues that prevents me from being able to continue. But as I say, I continue teaching and being involved with martial arts still. I have taught martial arts for most of my life, both in Latin America, Colombia, Mexico, and United States. Together with my master, the Grandmaster GM, we travel a lot throughout the United States doing demonstrations, and sometimes participated in some tournaments. Yes. I think that briefly summarizes my martial arts life.
Yes, it's brief, but I know there's a lot of details that go into that. And well, to reference for anybody watching, our connection point, my and Master Maurice's connection point, is through, he mentioned Grandmaster Young-Suk Kim, who opened the school in Colombia, and that's where they met. And then both of them opened the school here in New Orleans, which is the school that I'm a part of. And they moved away before I started training, but we still have those connections, and I've been able to train with them and learn a lot of things from them. I don't think you mentioned, but you're currently located in California, and that's the last area that you guys opened schools in, as well as Mexico. But I wanted to ask, since we talked about this, since you have a really unique perspective of training in both Latino America and North America, and what the differences are in the martial arts, specifically with the arts that we train in, and how each country kind of views and practices them.
This is a little difficult to answer because I imagine with every instructor is different. The way that we practice martial arts was At that time, martial arts were tremendously more military in their training. So there were no such a thing as stopping to drink or stopping for any reason. Absolutely, the instructor um, took the class whatever they wanted for as long as they wanted, let's say, and as hard as they wanted, and you just have to follow. Sparring was completely different too. At that time, there were not really many pads or protection. So um, for many of us, when you were learning and so forth, until you get to a certain level, it was very painful and scary in certain way. Yes, because
Yes.
you really got hurt a little bit. Um, but the thing that I can say the most is that the difference for me with Grandmaster Jones Kim is that in Colombia, he taught the full range of martial arts, which comprehended not just the physical part, but the philosophical, mental, and many other components like breathing, meditation, and so on. Um, all that was included in some of the classes. For example, we had every Saturday we had an 8-hour class. And part of that class was physical conditioning. Part of that class, was forms and kicking and sparring. But a long piece of that class was learning other things like acupuncture, philosophy, meditation, and so forth. When Master Kim moved over here, he stopped teaching that because over here they are more interested in the physical part and very less interested on all the other components, which is in certain way a shame, knowing that one without the other one is not really a whole.
Yes. So it's interesting that you bring that up because that's something else I wanted to talk about is the evolution of martial arts into what it is today. But like we're all about, like you said, the physical, and it's become very recreational and very sport-like. And it seems like we're missing a lot of the mental aspects that were once part of the foundation of most of the martial arts that were developed in past times. And it seems like, especially in the culture, at least what I know in America, it's been lost to an extent. And once one generation loses it, then the next generation cannot learn it because it's gone. So it can only go lower and lower unless we find ways to keep it alive.
Yes, that is correct. Most of the common martial arts are moving more toward being a sport. They in order to be sponsored by the countries, by the sports associations of the countries and so forth, they must have a competition. To make that transition, let's say, then it is in certain ways beneficial, but to me and the majority is not. It is beneficial because it becomes more popular, because it gets sponsored, There are more trained, there are better facilities, better equipment, and so on and so on. However, there is a huge difference between martial. Yes, sports have bring tremendous amount of benefits to people physically and mentally. Yes, when you practice them consistently and mostly for competition. Yes, but sports don't have the aspects that martial arts have. All these other byproducts of practicing martial arts, which is the meditation, the mental component, the respect, the loyalty, the breathing, all these gamma of other things that are involved in being a martial artist, and the whole purpose of it, because the purpose of sports is to win, basically to be a good sportsman. Yes, to have a good health and stuff like that, but really when you are a top level competitor, your job is to win, basically. Unfortunately, in that mentality, most people are a loser, because even if you're a second place, you're a loser. So sports in martial arts is good, or the competition component of martial art is good because it brings a different aspect. From that aspect, you lose the rest of what martial art is about. And that's what is happening to most sports, to most martial arts. They have, this is kind of my own word, sportize. Yeah, they have made the martial arts a sport, and in that sense, it's not a martial art anymore. Not for some of us that are more traditional, more traditional in the sense.
I like the way that you put that. That's very, it's good insight because I think about in the modern era, the way that martial arts have evolved is a lot of schools are run as businesses, and their goal is to earn enough money to stay alive or to have the instructor succeed, and some of that is abused, but they have to adapt to what the society wants, and people nowadays are just more into the sport style, and you're just going to get more students to sign up that way if you show that kind of product to new students.
It is okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt for a second, Mr. Matt. It is okay. I understand that if you have a studio, a school, and you live out of it, and you live off it,
mm-hmm.
It's important that you have enough to survive. So, but in that context, you still can pick and choose your students that you can help them and train them in the correct way. And that's the part that is missing a lot. You also, with the normal students, see, most people enter into martial art to learn to defend for different purposes, but the most common is to learn to defend themselves, to learn to some control and better management of the body and so forth. But as you are taken in this path, and mostly if the student stays on that path, the instructor start molding you to the right path, which is really the purpose of martial art is to become better human being. And you cannot be a better human being if your body is only proficient. Yes, you become more healthier, and in certain way, it helps to be a better human being. But really, a better human being is tremendously bigger than just the physique. It is all the mental and emotional and spiritual component that is left behind. And that is the part that martial arts. But learning to kick and punch is just tools to learn how to manage this body, to learn how to manage this mind, to learn how to manage your emotions, importantly, to learn how to manage your energies.
Right. And to your point, if all you do is try to practice to make your body proficient and just to rely on your physical strength, and that means you're one physical injury or ailment away from just being disconnected from martial arts. Like, sort of in your case, you had to stop practicing physically, but you didn't walk away from martial arts because you had a connection to the other side, which is so much, to me, more important. And I like the way that you've put it before, that if you learn all these self-defense techniques and you're really able to defend yourself from anything, but you never have to use it. If you do everything right, you never end up having to use it. But that's all you practiced. Then what did you really get out of your training? We can apply all these other aspects in our everyday lives, like we talked about in the breathing, in the meditation, because regardless of your situation, those are going to be everyday aspects of your life.
Yes, that's correct. And in the right martial arts, the best self-defense is never to fight. I have practiced, as I said, for almost 50 years, and I have never been in a fight. Not because I didn't have the opportunity, just simply because I knew that a well-trained body is a weapon. And by just understanding that, you prevent completely any situation in which might become physical. Yes, this is tremendously important, because if martial arts is not taught correctly, if the mental aspect, the discipline, and the mental aspect is not there, martial art is a tool to make people feel that they are better or more powerful, or so. You can see it there all the time. Just being physically, in a little more crude words, just being physically strong does not prevent you from being an animal or behave like an animal. And this is what is important.
So very...
That we practice, that we train our body together with other components that make us a better human being. That the martial art that we practice is to help every single life, is to help them to grow and to bloom, instead of stepping on them or cutting them. It is about every day applying the martial arts to your sisters and brothers, to your parents, to your friends, to your co-workers, to humanity, to the world. That is the real martial art. The other one is just, for that reason, you better buy a gun. Why to waste so much time? You buy a gun and you don't have to worry about it. You just sit down in your couch and watch TV. It's easier.
Wise words. I like that. I had a thought, but it escaped my mind.
I'm
But
sorry,
no, that's great. I love this conversation. We we see each other as physical beings, and the things that we don't see is we each have a spirit, and we each have thoughts, and we each have internal beings that we can't see, and they're not tangible, so they can be out of, like the term, out of sight, out of mind. And there's many arts and many schools that can manage both aspects, and there's a ways that you don't have to neglect one to focus on the other. You can use both to edify each other. But I feel that there's some schools that are very focused on the physical, to the extent that they don't want to waste time, as they would put it, because then they wouldn't have that amount of time to practice more techniques or more situations, because you can never practice enough to get out of any situation. All it takes, it's not a movie, all it takes is one mistake or one oversight, and you could be the best self-defense master of the world, and somebody can break your confidence, or your can't think of the word, but it doesn't take much. And just like you said, there's guns, and that can end everything in a blink of an eye. So it's a balance.
You're touching a point that is important. It's also one of the points why a true martial artist tries to prevent or to fight. But that's not mean that we sometimes might have to use martial art to defend ourselves or somebody else. However, we try our best not to do it. And it is that although you are, as I said, a well-trained martial artist is a weapon, you still understand that the other person has one head, two arms, and two legs exactly the same as you. Even if it's a lucky punch or lucky, they still can hurt you, still can grip you. So for all purposes, fighting does not make any sense. Only it's a story of the monks. The monks practice who said that you never use martial art, but if you ever had to use it, you must win. Mm-hmm. The reason for that is completely different as the meaning of the words today, because at that time it meant that if you didn't use it, they were going to kill you. So if you lose, you were going to be killed, in other words. Yeah. So in that purpose, under that context, at that time, it was right. And probably you can move that forward to today and say, if I ever need to use my martial arts, I hope that I can use it correctly. That would be my best translation to that, to our times.
Very good. Yeah. An analogy that comes to my head is that martial arts doesn't have to, if we think of the term, it's like somebody draws a knife on me and I disarm him or I immobilize him. But it's just as much or more martial arts if you didn't escalate the conversation to get to that point, or you didn't go to that place where the danger would be in the first place. So you're not even having to prevent the fight, because there's no possibility of it happening because of the choices that you made before that. And that's not what we think about when we think of martial arts, but that's what it is.
But that is the right teaching, and that's the truth. The truth is that if you have the right instructor, you should de-escalate the problem. In fact, what you say is correct. When you see that something, I have had people that come and bang me with their shoulder looking, really buff, looking for trouble, looking for trouble. I just ignore it completely. To me, they already lost.
Yes.
And I don't escalate that. I don't tell why. Nothing. The same thing is that that if you go by this street, it's dangerous. There are some people there that are drinking or this or that, and or it's too dark and it's dangerous. This other way might take you a little longer, but there's light and so forth. And this is the real martial art. The real martial art is that the best attack is not to have to defend yourself. They don't have to use your martial art. That's the best defense.
Correct. Yes. And I think it in the society today that everybody knows the accomplishments that we have, and we have to tell everybody what we have. So the more people know that you're a black belt, or the more people know that you're a martial artist, you know that the common reaction to that is, oh, so you know how to beat people up, or you can put me in a chokehold, or you could put me in a submission. And some people try to instigate you because they know that you have skills and they want you to use them. And some people fall for that, and they like to show their skills, and they get into more than altercations, and they contribute more to the violence and the unnecessary conflict than they would have if they didn't even practice anything. And it's like an arrogance or a hubris.
It is. See, you cannot ask for peace. You cannot ask for love. You cannot ask for happiness if that does not come from inside. This is the great problem of humanity, that we want peace. But are we peaceful ourselves? Most people are not peaceful inside. Somebody cut them off, and immediately they are making signs with their fingers, and they are cursing, and they blow up. So how can you ask for peace when we all are not peaceful? So the purpose of martial arts is to bring that inner peace, to bring that inner humanity. And to do that, you have to take the students through a process, a very kind of rigorous process in which they have to, in certain way, destroy what they think they are, and come out as a different, same person with a different individual, basically.
Yes.
That is the real purpose of martial arts, to create better human beings. But you cannot be a better human being when I'm talking about better human being, does not mean that you behave nicely and so forth. That's only good for your neighbor and your parent and your wife or husband and so forth. A good human beings means that you realize that you are tremendously more than just a physique, that you are this spiritual component that, as a physical individual, everything that is physical has boundaries, but everything that is spiritual, energetic, has no boundaries. And that as a human being, when you overpass your physicality and you start working on your spirituality, in your energetic component, the true possibilities of a human being really opens. There are no boundaries anymore. That is when you become one with everything.
Yes. I think in our world today, we talk a lot about, you can ask anybody, they'll say the world is a crazy place, and they'll say that there's darkness everywhere and there's negativity, but it's very it's a blame-filled thought, because it's never we as the world are a crazy place. It's the others are messed up, the others are corrupt, and I think that attitude kind of absolves whoever's saying that from blame and absolves them from feeling like they need to do anything to fix the problem. It's somebody else's problem that they need to fix. And I think we all have to, and I say we because we all have to take accountability for the things that we may unintentionally and intentionally do that can harm or bring negativity to others. And until we do that, I don't think we can make progress if we just point fingers. You know, this party does this, or this government does this, this country, it's their fault. And, you know, those things might be true for some things, but if we never look inward, and you're just talking about inner peace, then we'll never be able to progress.
Correct. There is a short story where a student asked Master, what is to work on myself? And the Master said, when you stop hoping, then everybody else change. This is also one of the biggest problems with us, human beings. Seeing the sentence that you say that a lot of people see this war as a chaos. Well, take the human component out of that and look at the war. And you will see that it's the most beautiful, miraculous, marvelous thing ever. Everything works in harmony, everything's integrity. In fact, through COVID, as they locked us down, the whole rest of the animal kingdom, plants and everything was prospering and blooming.
Yes.
That's the answer. The answer is the world is not a cow. We are a cows. And once again, yes, we are always thinking that that is the other ones. Oh, that person is this, that person is that person is that. But we're never looking inside. And what is our contribution? This life is a very short life. We think, oh, it's so long. But look, Matt, you are 20-something years old. You're very young. Just look behind your back, and how long did it take you to get over here? A blink of an eye.
Yes.
And wait until you are 40 or 50, or you're 100. The whole life will pass. When we are in the middle of the storm, it looks like it takes forever. Once you're out, you laugh and say, oh, it wasn't that bad. Yes. Even if that storm throws you against the wall and stuff like that, as long as it doesn't kill you, basically. Even if it broke you, like, hey, it wasn't that bad. Once you pass, it was kind of fun, actually.
Yes.
So that is life. Life is extremely short. And we don't spend it, we kind of waste it in things that don't make any sense. Accumulating material things, accumulating knowledge, trying to be more intelligent, more handsome, more this or more that, or more prettier or more fame or this. All this, anything that you cannot take with you once you die is a waste of time. The only thing that you can take with you is those things, those experiences that help you to be a better human being. That's the only thing. Because those things are helping you to evolve, to learn and evolve. That's the only thing. The rest, even all this exercise that you do, no matter how good you are, cannot take it with you.
That's right. So I think I have one more question that I'll ask you, and then we can wrap up.
Yes.
And I get this question quite a bit, either on YouTube or in person. But students ask, or somebody that's starting in martial arts asks, what advice do you give to somebody that's starting, regardless of the art, or what do you wish that you knew when you began your training? And obviously the answer is not, you can't learn everything with a simple message. You can only learn things by the experience. But just as a basic general question, what advice would you give to somebody that's starting?
Let me start that by telling everybody that there is no such a thing as best martial art. A lot of people say, "Oh, my martial art, the one that I practice, is the best martial art." That is not right even, because the best martial, if you the only thing that you know is to certain punch, and you can stick that punch to anyone, that's the best martial art. You don't need to know a million things. You don't need to jump buildings. You don't need to be superhuman. Absolutely. So starting with that, the best thing that I can tell anyone is look for the right instructor. Look for the right teacher, the master. The one that is going to give you a comprehensive experience. If martial art is what you're looking for, look for a really good in whatever martial art you think you like. If you try one and you don't like, go and look for another one. That's not for me. Look at your body, look at your abilities, and different martial arts might fit better for certain conditions. Yes, if you're short and you're this or you're that, depending on your age, depending on your ability, depending on all these aspects. Interested on something slowly with a more internal Tai Chi, this type of martial art better. You might be young, you're flexible. Taekwondo, some of these martial arts might be. You might be more into competition, you mixed martial art, whatever. But look for the instructor. That is the best advice that I can give anyone, because whatever they teach is what they are going to pass you. And so if it's a good instructor, it's going to pass something good. If it's not such a good instructor, it's going to pass something that is not such a good thing for you. Might not be a good thing for you. The rest, just always know that martial art is tremendously more than competition. That's, I guess, my best advice looking to start.
I think that's wonderful advice. It's funny, I just uploaded a video talking just about that a couple weeks ago, and it was very similar to the points that you made. So I think it's great advice. So before we finish, we didn't talk about this, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your business and your blog, because I was going to put some information on that in the description if you wanted to let everybody know.
Thank you. See, martial arts, when I learned martial arts, one of the first things that they told me is that, after 40, whenever you start on 40, somewhere around there, you exploit your body because you have more ability physically, and you work on your mind and the other components, mostly your mind. But from 40 and on, your mind is better prepared to work on it, and your body now is in decline, let's say, compared to the young. And that is exactly what I'm doing. And that is exactly why I'm still involved in martial arts. Because what I did is that I exploited my body for many, many years. But because some personal reasons and the repetitive exercise and so forth, cause some health issues on me. It's not important what it is. I cannot do anything that has impact in my joints. I basically don't have too much padding in my joints anymore. Now, then what I did is move on into my next step of my martial arts. Why we don't concentrate too much in martial arts in the mental part at the beginning? Because the mind is moving too much. Hormones are hitting really hard when you're a teenager. In the 20s, you still are the water is very choppy.
Yes.
Your mind is going nuts in all directions and so forth. Finally, you get some structure, you probably get married, have some children, some family, a job, have education, a job, and so forth. That helps to come down and so forth. So by the time you're 40 years old, you are more ready. Let's say that you are ready to start working harder on your mental side. That's not completely true, but I'm just saying it works really well for martial arts. If you are dedicated to the spiritual component, you can start very early. But part of that is to calm the mind. Yes. So now in the mental component, the spiritual component, then I have dedicated the same amount of time that I used to spend practicing martial arts a long time ago. Now I do it, but for my personal development. Try to explore all these possibilities that we as human beings have. And the only way to do that is to realize who we are. And to open doors that cannot be explained, but they have to be experienced. So let me explain that really fast. Again, physically, if we stay on the physical, animals live between two lines. They are born and die between those two lines, and they live to the max for what they can. A dog is a dog, and they live to the best of their ability, being a dog, and an ant is an ant, and an elephant is an elephant, a tiger is a tiger. Human beings don't have the upper line. The possibilities are infinite. The problem is that if we stay in the physique, if we still trust our senses as the right thing, like most people do, that this is the world, everything that I can touch, this is the world, there's no other thing, we have to have fun and so forth. This life for normal people are just to keep them busy and entertained. As long as you're busy and entertained, you are a little rat in the little wheel over there, because you don't have time to get out and say, what the hell? What am I doing? So most people live between two lines, all their lives. The only problem is that if we live between those two lines, we are never fulfilling our complete opportunity to be the maximum that we can be. So in that sense, we human beings are less than animals, because we live and die being less than the maximum capacity that we have as a human beings. The only way that you can do that is when you transcend physicality and realize that you are not this. This is just a vehicle, that you are something spiritual, something energetic. At that moment, a million doors open, and the ability, you can live 10 years, you can live 100 years, you can live 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years, and you will never finish learning, experiencing. So I'm in that process, in the process of growing my perception, my level of perception. And the only way to do that is through, the only gateway to do that is through meditation. Through working every day on that component and studying as much as I can. So yes, my way to teach martial arts is not in front of students almost anymore, although I do sometimes, but it's through my writings. I'm trying to throw seeds to those that follow me in my blog. So all my writings have some very, sometimes a strong message, sometimes very diplomatic message, that anyone that wants to change their lives or start looking at it should look at it, because the whole purpose is to try to put things on people and try to help them to wake up from this normal life and see that life can be a beautiful, wonderful experience only if you're able to change the way you think. So my website is path2one.com, and over there you can find my blog too. And in Spanish is rutaaUno.com. Any questions about that?
No, I can tell you from personal experience that the blog and the website offer tons of insight, and I would recommend anybody, especially that has been able to enjoy this conversation, to give it a look and see what you can get out of it, because there's a lot to be offered. And I hope somebody can find it through this video or in some way that they weren't going to be able to before.
Yeah, and I ask everybody, if they like what I write, to subscribe and to pass it on to other people. So I don't advertise, I don't try to promote it. The only promotion that I read it to pass it to. Uh, what I write is not for everybody. Some people will find my writing corny, but they will find it corny because they are not ready. If you are ready, you find it extremely meaningful, extremely, there's a calling in it. If you're not ready, it's corny.
Well, if you're watching this, you can certainly find those links. I'm going to put all that in the description to make it easy for you to find it. But Master Maurice, I appreciate your time and your thoughts and this conversation. I think it was very fruitful and very insightful, and I sure learned a lot from just getting to talk casually and candidly about the things that we enjoy. But thank you for your time.
Mr. Matt, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and to your audience. I hope I can be of any help to you or to anyone. My doors are open. My heart is open for all of you. That's my only purpose on life is now dedicated to serve other human beings. So I'm here for anyone.
Thank you again, sir. I hope those that watch this got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed. And if you have any other thoughts, you can put them in comments and we can discuss further, because the conversation is always productive, and as long as we stay positive, it can always be something we can learn from.